This is Pop Culture Yearbook. On this show, we pick pieces of pop culture that were important to us in a given year. We then discuss memories and dig into those movies, albums, shows, and more. I'm Brad.
I am Pete.
And I'm Giff.
And we're back, baby.
Yes, we are.
Forgot how that went.
So we, some people might not even know we're on a break because if they didn't hear our old episodes, they might be thinking that we're just putting out, nonstop.
Baby.
Those episodes are
Putting out.
Putting out nonstop.
But so it's great. We're on a little break here, and we're going to put out one new one right now for January, looking back. We hope you enjoy the old ones. We're trying to pick out some of our bigger or favorite ones, and we'll continue that through February, and we'll probably put out one more new one in February, and then in March, we'll be back, right, guys?
That's right.
Steam ahead.
It'll be like Die Hard with a Vengeance.
I like that.
Pop Culture Yearbook with a Vengeance.
It looks like you're already for March there with your St. Patrick's Day shirt. That it appears.
It is blue.
For the audience that cannot see, Brad says he's wearing a blue shirt, but for us, it certainly looks green. Everything else looks normal, but
I am hiding in a closet, as
sure.
I always do, to avoid the dog barking, and the lighting does not show things very well. So,
all right, this is what I say we do. We are going to start the next internet craze. Is it a blue shirt or a green shirt?
Take a picture of me with your phone.
Do it.
Yes.
Do it.
And then you post the shirt, and we'll see if it's blue or if it's green. It's going to be amazing.
It's just an ugly shirt, I think. Okay, guys, so this is our, we like to do, we've done this the last couple of years. We put out a look back at the previous year.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to look back at 2023 tonight, and that'll combine us with some personal memories and fun things that we loved and happened. And we'll also get into some of the pop culture stuff, too, because, that's what we're all about.
And more.
And more. There's just a little bit of everything when we do this. It's just a freewheeling, good time show. So, in a ceremony before the show started, we determined the order we would go, and Gifford won, so he's going to lead us off with one of his first memories of 2023.
Excellent. Well, I am going to go with something that included the whole family, and that was a family vacation to the Black Hills. We went out there with my mom's side of the family, rented a enormous house. Everybody's staying in the house. I think we had 19 people in the house at one time. Really cool property, and took some day trips to different areas around the Black Hills, and of course saw the faces and went on a nice hike to the Devil's Bathtub, I believe it was called. Checked out Deadwood for a couple days, and it was just a nice time with the boys.
It's the Devil's Bathtub at the base of Devil's Tower.
No, but we did see Devil's Tower on that trip as well. We
did?
Finished the trip.
That's right, because you went to Montana.
Yeah, we went out to Billings for a funeral for one of my aunts. So on the way out there, we stopped by Devil's Tower, so we did see that. But no, it's not at the base of Devil's Tower.
I knew that.
But good question. Good question.
Did you go to Spearfish?
We went through We were very close to Spearfish.
Oh, you got to do the drive through the canyon in Spearfish. That's the best thing that's out there.
I don't think I've even done that before.
I highly recommend it.
We made a trip.
Beautiful drive.
We made a trip through, and
this is better than Needles Highway.
Needles Highway was pretty awesome to do that. So we took a drive. We took a drive over to the trailhead for the Devil's Bathtub, and on the way there or on the way back to the house, we went past these falls. I think it was called like the Bridal Falls or something like that. Just kind of a roadside deal, but I don't remember a canyon specific to Spearfish there. But we were very close to it. But we never.
Did you go to Sturgis? Did you ride your bike?
We drove through Sturgis on the way there, but no, we did not have the hogs in tow for that. Yeah,
that's too bad.
Did you go to Wall Drug?
No, we did not. We did not go through Wall Drug on the way.
Okay, one more. How about the Badlands?
You missed out on free ice water.
On the way back, we came through North Dakota and traveled through the Badlands, but we didn't stop
Oh, well, the North Dakota Badlands are different. I've never been to those.
Oh yeah,
those are good too.
Second
I
time.
highly
I'm sure they
recommend
are.
that as well.
But when we drove back, it rained damn near the whole time we were driving back. It was absolutely ridiculous that day that we went through the North Dakota Badlands.
In some
That
ways,
sounds
I
like
would
a
say
nice
the
trip.
North Dakota Badlands are even prettier than the South Dakota Badlands.
Really?
In a way, because it's not as desert-like, but definitely it is. And we actually did horseback riding a few years ago through the Badlands there, and I did not know, but you can find cactus in North Dakota. I
really?
didn't know that, but we found that.
Meaning, what kind of cactus?
Not like
Not
the big
not a
ones with
saguaro.
thorns. Right. But like the ones that grow out of the ground. I don't know. What am I, a
Oh,
botanologist?
you can grow prickly pears here in Minnesota.
Outdoors?
Yeah, there was a house
In-
near us in Savage.
in
We would walk
nature?
by it. Yep.
Wow.
Well, I mean, no, they planted it in their yard.
All right.
Right.
Well,
But
anyway.
I believe that North Dakota Badlands, isn't that Teddy Roosevelt Park?
Yes,
Something
Teddy
like that.
Roosevelt is big out there. It's Teddy Roosevelt National Park, and it's Medora. I think is the big
Oh, it's
Teddy Roosevelt.
gorgeous.
And I think that's
That's-
right by.
that's where
There's
you
two golf courses that someday I will be taking a trip up there to play, and I think they're near that, and I will have to work in the Badlands at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's even just to drive through it was beautiful.
Yeah, highly
And
recommend.
It's so expansive, but yeah, to get out and go to a couple areas where you can, the scenic overlooks, if you will.
Yes,
Courtney and I did
I
that
will.
when we went out there for one of my cousin's weddings. We made more of a trip of it when we did that. That was many, many moons ago.
All right, it's my turn.
Yes.
I was going to ask you before we started, and I forgot. We're christening the new year here. What are you guys drinking tonight? We all cracked a beer for this occasion. I have a Surly Winterize. It has been completely freezing.
Yes.
If you remember this time of year in this country when this comes out, it was extremely cold. It's been like minus 30 wind chill most days. So I felt this was a very fitting from our
Yes.
local brewery, Surly, a winterized lager. It's very good.
I have not had that one. I'll have to
Pete,
try.
I see you went the opposite direction.
This is quite the opposite. This is where I wish I was right now. It's a Kona Big Wave from Hawaii.
That's like a
Nice.
new can. That looks really cool.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And Gifford, you went with the old standby.
I went with the old standby, the old Michelob Golden Light.
There you go.
Yeah, nice light beer for me for this evening and most of our podcasts. Polish off 2 or 3 of those. It's a good night.
Mhm.
All right. Well, for my first topic, I'm going to start at the beginning of the year. I think I discussed this last year at this time, but it technically part of this trip was in 2022. But in 2023, we kicked it off. We were in California. My wife and I were out there, and that was because our children were playing in the Rose Parade, and they marched in the Rose Parade for the Rosemont High School Marching Band, which was actually on January 2nd last year because New Year's Day was a Sunday.
Mhm.
And so we got up speaking of cold, we got up at like 4:30 in the morning, and you got to go get in your seats. And in California, it's freezing at that time. It was very cold. But by the time the parade started, the sun is out, and it's still chilly, but like it's beautiful, and you're with all these other people, so you're not cold. And it was just fantastic. I've watched this parade my whole life on the TV. My parents watched it every New Year's Day, and I loved it. And they got to go see it a few years ago, which was both of them really, but one of my mom's like dreams to go. And so we have never gotten to go to the Rose Bowl and see the Gophers like we thought
Weird.
we would at some point. But I did get to see the Rose Parade, and our kids are amazing, and the Rosemont Band is amazing, and it was so cool to be there, to witness that, to experience it, and it was just awesome. And we came home, and it was a wild story. So we got home just in time. There were huge snowstorms in Minnesota. The weather was terrible at that time too. And our kids, everybody that was on like the friends and family flight or the kids flights, none of them got home right away. Like the plane our kids were on got transferred to Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Didn't even know there was an airport there. And they had to sit there for like a couple hours and wait. And eventually they did make it home that night. Another group was in Des Moines, I think all overnight. It was a mess, and luckily we had our own flight and our own trip. We weren't on the friends and family, so we got home just in time. And
They had to hitch a ride with John Candy.
It was crazy. And so I was like, the kids, they have stories from that. They got to do something amazing, and they got to have a fun, not fun maybe, but like a really cool story of how they got home, and it was nuts, and it was just a great time and a wonderful experience.
All right.
Awesome.
That's fair.
Yeah, I thought that would have been just perfect if, you had that planned out. The Gophers were going to the Rose Bowl last year. That was going to be.
You would
gonna be
think,
the trip.
why not? I mean,
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
Yep. And it
then
was
they-
all good. It was all going to fall into place for you. And weird. Another, Minnesota sports team lets you down. But that was a great story. I loved the fact that your kids were there. And I remember recording the parade to watch it, to see the band come through. And they came through on, I think I was watching on ABC, so they came past the cameras during a commercial break.
Yeah, I think
I did not get to
NBC,
see
you
it.
had to have NBC on to see them, I think. There were some fun, like the news had clips afterwards that showed everything. So, I mean, but still, you're watching it live. That's the whole experience. You want to see it. And if you had
Right.
ABC on, you got screwed. So,
I got screwed.
but you were watching it this year. It's like, why do they have commercials in a 2-hour parade? That's so, you got kids out there doing this thing. It's like, just show the damn parade. Like, come on.
It's all about the money, Brad.
Yeah, I'm sure
That's
there's
how
ways
they make
around that.
money.
But as Chevy
the
Chase once
Masters
said,
goes commercial free on Sunday.
as
Or
Chevy
is it
Chase
like any
once
other?
said, I love a parade.
The Chiefs game went commercial free the fourth quarter.
Did it?
This last playoff game that was on
I didn't even know that.
that was on Peacock. Yeah, they were advertising that it was commercial free, brought to you by Hotels.com.
Oh, that's nice.
Lovely.
So
Yeah, see, you
yeah.
still have sponsors, and in a parade, you can work sponsors
And
in easily.
if
You can
the
have split
NFL
screen.
Right.
if the NFL can go commercial free, then anybody can go commercial free.
I mean,
right?
this is like a
So-
once in a lifetime experience. You'd think for 2 hours they could put everybody that's there could get their moment. I find that to be really stupid.
Yeah.
But
anyway, it was
Peacock thing anyway.
Pete, you're up.
I am also going back to January, Brad, and also it's actually a memory with you.
Aw.
We saw on January 27th, the night before your birthday, we saw Semisonic at First Avenue.
Ah, yes. me and
Or at
Hummel.
First Ave. Yes, you, me, and Hummel, and just a great time. You talk about a band that's probably more fun to listen to in person, and even better in person than they are, listening to the album. So, because not all bands are like that, but they, Semisonic, they just delivered. We all had a great time. We went out for a few beers
And it was
at
my birthday. That was
bar.
fun.
Yeah, what bar was it? It was across the street, an Irish bar, right?
That's what's that called? Hula Hands.
Hula Hands.
I can't. O'Donovan's.
Hooer.
Donovan's, yes. And so we had a great time, and that's my first memory of the year.
And speaking of Semisonic, they're going to come up again later tonight. So I'll just leave.
Oh,
that
they
there.
are.
Oh, they are.
Huh.
Okay.
And also, in case he's
Oh.
listening, I have put out a feeler to try to get Dan Wilson to join our podcast, and I have not heard
Nice,
back
Dan
yet.
Wilson
So
is
if anybody
listening.
out there wants to reach out and say, hey, they've contacted you, they want you on your show, help us out. We'd love to talk to him.
There you go.
Mhm.
Excellent.
Back to you, Gif.
All right. Well, the first time I was ever on this podcast, we covered the year of 1994, and that was, of course, huge because that was the year we graduated high school. Well,
And so we're recording this yesterday. That episode, Nirvana, came out
Mhm.
to reappear for people to listen to again.
Yep.
So
that was the first one I was ever on. And of course, that was a big year for us because, like I said, we graduated high school, went off to college. So this would probably be more for my kid, but for me, it was also a pretty big time. My oldest son, Sam, graduated from high school last year. Had a lot of great memories his senior year, and of course, all through high school and growing up. So, looking back, getting ready for the graduation party, and all the photos and putting all that together was just so much fun. And then, of course, heading off to college, he, much like his dad and his mom, headed off to Morris this fall. So that was a lot of fun moving him in to college and going back to, my first college campus and moving him into the exact same dorm that I was in my freshman year, just a couple floors further up than what I was in, but yeah, that was a lot of fun. Kind of bittersweet at the same time, your first kid leaving home, leaving the nest for the first time, but he's doing well. He just went back yesterday to start second semester, and wish him all the luck. But yeah, that was a lot of fun seeing him go through his senior year and the successes that he had, and move on to this new stage in his life.
So 2023 was his 1994. Maybe someday he'll do a podcast about
maybe
the best year of his life with his two best friends.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, let me see. That would maybe be like Johnny and Will, or
get him a body bag.
Right.
All right, well, I can build off that one since you have a senior who just graduated and went to college. I have a senior right now who's going to graduate this year. And I am very proud of my kid, Isaac, who has chosen Winona State, where he's going to go. And so we're going to go visit again there just in a couple of weeks to check some things out and maybe start getting registered. And in the fall, that's where time will be spent. But this kid is just taken off. So we went to Rosemont High School because, that's the band. I just said that. He was in the band. Mm-hmm. But both kids, that band is a big deal and a big commitment. So Isaac was in it for 2 years, and it was amazing, and we couldn't be more proud. He did not want to do it again as a senior, and we were in support of that all the way. And Isla also quit as well. But he switched to a different high school, the School of Environmental Studies in Apple Valley, which is just the best thing that's ever happened, I think, as far as schooling goes, and a great way to finish off his schooling. And instead of band and all these other commitments, he has worked, well, I shouldn't say 2 jobs. He has been working 2 jobs and just committed. And some days he's gone to work in the morning at one and worked all the way like to midnight at the other one. And it's just been awesome to see how committed he is and how organized he has become. Because this is a kid, I talked about it. If you go back 2 years ago and listen, I talked about the amazing strides that he's taken. He has learning disabilities and has been through so much stuff. And the way that his schooling is finishing and the way he is working these jobs is nothing short of a miracle, and it's just awesome, and we're so proud. He did decide just the other day to quit one of those 2 jobs and put more time in at the other one. So, and that was fine. There were reasons. It all worked out fine. So I can't say he's doing 2 jobs anymore. But he did for most of this year, and now he'll just take more hours at the other one. It's not like he's getting lazy or anything like that.
Reminds me of the commitment that you put into making hot stuff pizza, Brad.
So we took some college visits last year. That was fun. The whole family went, visited 3 colleges in 2 days, and he came up with Winona as his top choice and got accepted right away. And here we are. So
that's awesome.
And then. Well, yeah, I'll save my other child for my next round, I guess.
There you go.
My next one is spring break. We took a road trip out to Washington, D.C. By the way, if you do go to Washington, D.C., late March is the time to go because that's when they have their cherry blossoms. The cherry blossoms it's just beautiful. If you haven't seen it, go online and check it out. Man. Perfect time to go. We did a road trip as we love to do. And so usually when we go on a road trip like that, we'll get like whatever hotels, cheap hotels on the way out there. And then we'll get a nicer hotel when we get into town. Well, we arrived after being in the car for 3 days straight. And we just looked like hell and didn't realize that this was like by far the swankiest hotel that I had ever stayed in. So here we are, like the Griswolds coming in, trying to find our way to the parking ramp, getting a valet with our minivan that was just filled with shit. And
literally.
And then we walk in and I'm like unshaven, unshowered and everything. It's like, oh, what are you doing here? But we got it all straightened out and it was fun. And of course, we got to see all the sights. We saw the Smithsonian. We saw what I thought the coolest was probably the Jefferson Memorial, which it's got a lot of cool like quotes and stuff like that from him, some historical things. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. We had a great time. On the way out there, by the way, we stopped at Gettysburg, and when I'm pulling into Gettysburg, I was also listening through my phone. I was able to listen to RTR winning the state championship for basketball.
Yeah, I was there.
So it was that moment, and we were waiting in the car to go into Gettysburg, listening to the game finish, and
to the non-cultured, educated on RTR, that is our high school that we graduated from.
yes, Russell Tyler Ruthven.
We now have 3 or 4 state championships in basketball.
And one in volleyball now.
Yeah, and
Yes.
volleyball just this year.
We are the reigning volleyball girls and the boys basketball state championships, Class A.
Yeah.
So for Minnesota, so that's very exciting.
Juggernaut.
Exactly.
Sure.
Kind of machines they got down there nowadays, but
Better class athlete than
Back to you.
when we were in high school, specifically.
That's
towards
right.
the latter part of our high school, anyway.
right,
So-
we were a rebuilding year.
Yes, we were, for sure. Retool,
All right.
retool you.
Back to you,
Gifford, you're up.
All right. On a personal note, probably the biggest thing that happened to me this last year was I started a new job.
Oh, yeah.
I had installed flooring for 20 years and owned my own business here in Bemidji for 16. Got to the point where needed to find a different job just because, physically I wasn't able to do that as well anymore. So I started with a new company called the Design Store in Bemidji. So instead of putting the flooring in, I'm selling it instead. So it's nice having a desk job. And, had a really good year and got a good group of people that I work with. And then at the end of this year, we moved into a new space, new store. I have an office for the first time in my life with a window. So I'm loving that. And we just opened up the 2nd of January at the new place. But that was a big change for me. Really enjoyed having, 8:30 to 5 hours. That was awesome. And, working with my mind rather than my hands. So not a bad way to go. So
You got to work that mind.
that's right. So
And I will say, we didn't know he was getting a new job, and one night we got on this podcast, and Gifford had his hair all done and a nice shirt on. We were like, "What the fuck is going on here?" And that was
Somebody
the first
die?
time. And then he told us he had a new job, and you could see it visually. The clues were there. Something big was
looked
going
nice.
on. It was great.
that's very kind.
All right. I have one other child, and I will talk about her now. So Isla is a sophomore, and we're very proud of her as well. So she is a straight A student, taking some honors classes. She's just doing fantastic. Although she is unlike Isaac, who just takes everything as it comes. She is more like her parents, very, very high strung. Gets very frustrated easily by things, but works through it. But the big deal for her that we're dealing with right now is she just got her driver's permit. And so we have been out driving through the winter here, working on those hours until she can get her license this coming year.
We're doing the same.
It's exciting and fun. And at first it was a little scary. It was just weird because she's your daughter and she's your youngest, and she's, you think of her so little, and she's driving my big car and I'm sitting in the passenger seat, and again, what the fuck is going on here? But it has gotten much better, and she is doing a great job, and so it's exciting. And she takes everything so seriously, and she's a perfectionist, which can be frustrating, but it's also great to see how she can push herself to just do her best with everything.
Chips off the old block.
Just like Dad.
There you go. Yep. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I've got a couple of years here. Well, I guess only a year until Paulie will be getting into his driving and everything like that, being a 14-year-old. But Pete, yeah, you're going through it too with the
That's right. We just got him.
driver's education.
We haven't gotten him because he just got it like in December, I think it was, and we've been driving around in like an empty parking lot. We haven't actually been on the road yet, but did that a few times, and he's
Good
getting
place
the hang
to
of it.
start. Yeah.
I bet with
Yeah.
your extremely tall child, it's not such a big deal when you have to switch seats. When I get in, I can barely get in my seat because it doesn't get moved back to where it belongs.
It's the other way. It's the other
yeah,
way.
yours
I got to
is
pull it
probably-
forward.
How tall is Isla?
Well, she's not short, but still, she's like, well, I don't know, what, 5'6" or something. I mean, she's normal
Oh
height
God,
for her
she's
age.
that tall. Holy
She's
cow.
pretty tall.
Yeah, she is.
But still, she gets in a car and the seat goes way up, and it's not where I sit.
Right. And
Yeah.
Brecken, how tall is Brecken now?
About 6'1".
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Jesus.
For a while, he was the tallest one in all of Maple Grove Middle School, like in his
all
class.
of the land.
And,
So you could argue,
but
Pete, that he
he
got
wanted
your
nothing to
height.
do with basketball. Yeah, exactly.
He got your height because you didn't.
Right. Yep.
That's what we say about Paul. He got Courtney's height because she didn't get it.
Anyway, our next highlight that I'm going to bring up is that we got a new pool this year that we put up. It was a lot
Ought to
of
be good for you.
a lot of work that I got that Christmas bonus, and
Yeah.
we put in a new pool. And so it was a lot
I
of work.
noticed you didn't fly us all up there to celebrate and christen it.
I can't swim, Pete. I know
I know
Eddie.
that. I know that.
But it was a lot of work to get it going, and most of the work was in leveling the ground, which it took a couple of weekends of hard back-breaking labor, but then the actual assembly of the pool went up pretty easily.
Right.
But that was a good part of our summer. And like every night after work, we would come home, and that's what we would do. Just figure out something quick to eat, throw some brats or something on the grill, and that was what we would do. And we spent a lot of days, like on Saturdays and Sundays, and just laying out on and floating, and it was fun. So that's what we did.
Sweet. That's awesome. So I went to my first MLS soccer game this last summer. Never really had a whole lot of interest in soccer. Two of the friends that we went with, they are really big soccer fans. Nub grew up playing soccer. Mike, since he moved to Atlanta, their MLS team is, really good. So they got into that, and we took a trip down to the cities and went to the Loon Stadium. That was just a lot of fun. The atmosphere at a soccer game is, frenetic, I think would be the right word. I mean, you're constantly standing, yelling, there's not necessarily much going on, but the atmosphere is just absolutely outstanding. So I recommend to any sports fan who loves being outdoors watching the sport to give that a shot, because I know I had a real good time. And not, like I say, not necessarily as a soccer fan. It was just a great atmosphere. So a little something there.
We didn't see you when you were down here for that trip.
No,
Thanks for the invitation.
I was with my real friends. You guys are my online friends.
With them then.
Yes. Well, you guys are my online friends. That's my,
Wow.
I'm kidding. I love you all.
All right, I have one more before my pop culture choices for the year.
Yep.
And I guess I have another one that's a pop culture choice, but is a family thing too. But this year's, hey, you guys, some people that know me know what my favorite thing to do is, and that is what?
Golf.
Screw?
Golf.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, golf.
Golf.
But I do like to put that ball in the hole there, Giff.
Hey-o. Family show.
So,
how many strokes?
if you are a golfer, a big golfer, you would probably know this, that the prime resort destination in this country is Bandon Dunes on the Oregon coast. And I got to go there. And we had 8 guys, and I planned the whole trip, which was a lot of pressure because I hadn't done that before with, outside of my own family. But everything went great. The tee times were great. This resort is just amazing. These courses, they're all right on or near the coast. If you haven't been to the Oregon coast, it's beautiful. If you've been to California, then you get the idea. I did play Pebble Beach.
I started on my way there, and I died of diphtheria on the way there.
Nice. Yes.
You didn't ford the river correctly.
That's correct.
That's right.
But anyway, so I went with my brother and my brother-in-law, and then one of my best friends, and then a couple other guys that I know, plus 2 guys that my brother invited that we didn't even know. And everybody made it to the same place, and everybody got there, and we all fit in together and had a great time. I created tea time or foursomes so that we didn't play the same people every time. We all had a different
Good way to
group
do it.
each day. And it was just fantastic. And it was, I mean, I don't know if it's a once in a lifetime deal, but there's a very good chance that it will be. And now I got to go. And I can't say enough about Bandon Dunes and the resort, just the hotel rooms, the restaurants, the courses are just, they're beyond anything. It is awesome, and it's not cheap, but it is worth the trip.
Sure.
For sure. And it's out there. Yeah, it's out there in the middle of nowhere. Like we flew to Portland. There are some closer airports, but it's like more expensive to get there. It's not like you save a lot. So we flew to Portland, and we had to drive almost 5 miles. Or
5 miles. Wow.
5 hours. Get there. However, what we did, and actually I should mention this, one of the best parts of the trip was I had read a book about this guy that played like all over the country, and he talked about this course on the northern Oregon coast called Gerhardt Golf Links, which is supposedly the oldest golf course west of the Mississippi. And it sounded so cool. And I'm like, could we work that into this trip? And I did, and everybody agreed to do it. And so we went and played there first, and that was just like such a highlight. It was so cool. The guy that works there, that runs the place, was in the book. He's the nicest guy. It's got this big old clubhouse, so much like history that you're walking around there. So we went and played there first, and then we drove all the way down the coast to Bandon Dunes. It was just, I mean, you could not have scripted a better trip. And if you go to Oregon, you never know what you're getting with the weather. I mean,
Right.
people go to this place and they play in 40-mile-an-hour winds and rain, and they love it because you have to. But we had perfect weather the whole time we were there. You could not have had better weather for every single day. So it was perfect. It was great. I loved it.
I noticed I didn't get an invite to that one.
Oh, maybe if you're more than just an online friend, he would have
Right.
gotten invited.
Exactly.
Well, it was a pretty nondescript sports year for Minnesota sports. However, the highlight of the year was the Twins, having won the division and winning their first playoff series in how many years? Like 19 years.
19 years.
And probably one of the I would say the turning point game of the year, arguably, was a game that I was at along with my family, compliments of Chris Anderson, who gave up 4 tickets, and I claimed them. And they were standing room only tickets, but we were able to get, just by walking into the stadium and finding some pretty good seats down to left field foul line. And it was the night that Carlos Correa hit a walk-off home run against the Brewers, and it was Correa had been struggling up to that point, and so for him to get that big walk-off homer, and it sort of ignited the Twins a little bit, and eventually they won the division. So it was fun that because my family, I'm the one that's only really interested in baseball. The other ones just could do without it. But they were all really excited when they hit that home run. It was a pretty cool moment, or when Correa hit that home run. So
Yeah, that was a pretty good game to be at. I remember you being there.
yes, it was amazing.
I think somebody else was there that night too, because it's
Beautiful
like, wow.
night.
I think maybe Craig.
Hummel was there. Because we
Hummel.
didn't see each other,
What?
but he was in a suite behind home plate.
I don't know. Anyway, I remember people being there thinking, wow, what a game to be at.
Yep.
I remember not getting an invite to that either.
Oh, blah, blah. Well, now you're invited to speak.
Oh, excellent. Well, that was pretty much the what I had for memories for the year. I don't know if you
you're
guys
going to get into pop culture. Why
Yeah, I
don't you
was
start with music, because that'll tie into mine next.
Okay. So as everybody knows that ever listens to this podcast, I don't listen to new music. So basically what I have for what I listened to for the year is a couple podcasts. I always love listening to the Power Trip Morning Show in the mornings on the radio. That's a staple of mine. One of the big downfalls of starting this new job at an office and not being out on your own on job sites.
Can't listen to stuff all day anymore.
I can't listen to stuff all day anymore. That's exactly right.
Yeah,
Brett.
a teaching job too really gets in the way.
So, I mean, now that I have an office, maybe I can listen to something a little bit as I kind of get more used to that setting. But so the morning show is always a big one for me. And then Smartless, been listening to that. Of course, Pop Culture Yearbook, every Monday. that is a must listen. And then
Looking forward to it every week.
I do. I still look for. I get up on Monday and I go, oh shit, it's Monday. I got to go to work. This sucks. But then it's like, oh shit, we got a new podcast. We're listening. So, and even like this month when we've been re-releasing stuff, it's been fun to go back to this. And then one of my favorite hockey podcasts, Missing Curfew, is also a great one that I've kept up with throughout this year. So that's what I've been listening to in 2023. Brad, what do you got?
Okay, so I do have some musical choices, but I'll start with kind of combining the family and the pop culture together. So this year, my whole family got to go see Taylor Swift at US Bank Stadium. And it was incredible. So we sat up at, we weren't going to go. We weren't going to spend a ton of money. We spent the cheapest amount you could spend. And it showed. We were in the second to the top row of US Bank Stadium. And you first walk up that high, it's disorienting. Like it's almost like I don't think I can walk back down those stairs. Mm-hmm. But you get used to it. And even though we were that far away, like the show was incredible. I mean, the nice thing was you could see the whole stage. There were seats where like you wouldn't be able to see certain things and effects that were going on. So we did get that. You don't get the close up, but then the movie came out and we saw that. But it was just so fun. I love Taylor Swift. We have an episode about Taylor Swift.
It's very good.
Now, you know what's going to happen now? We're going to get all the Twitter followers are going to say, they talk too much about Taylor Swift on this podcast. Boo!
And but it's a family affair. We all love her, and so my wife and both kids, and we went together and sat up there together and just had a wonderful time, and it was a great memory. And so it was, buying the tickets was exciting. It was like, I don't know if because it was such a hard deal to get the tickets. Mm-hmm. So like I had to get in the queue while I was still at school on my laptop, and when I went home, nothing had happened yet. So I had to keep my laptop open. When I left school, I had to hook up to my hotspot so I didn't lose my Wi-Fi. So it's in my car open in case we get through. It hooked up to my hotspot until I finally get home, and luckily it didn't happen in the car. After I got home, after a little while, we're back on our Wi-Fi, and then we got through, and I got the tickets, and it was just great. So there was even fun just getting the tickets.
Right. Well, and if it were me, Brad, if I was second to last row, I would have turned around, asked the people behind me if they wanted to have my seats, just so I could
say.
Well, but I like like when I go to hockey games at BSU, I stand in the last row of the lower bowl so I can stand the whole time. Oh, yeah. And I don't have to worry about blocking anybody's view.
Yeah, well, you weren't. People were standing anyway. It's a concert. Sure. It's a very, very long concert. So eventually people did sit down more, but we didn't have to worry about that. It wasn't a deal.
I was thinking of the old Bob Uecker joke where he goes, hey, turn the stadium around, I'd be in the front row.
Speaking of music, I'm going to bring concerts that are going to tie into all these. So, Pete, you brought up that we went to see Semisonic last January. Semisonic put out a new album last year in like November or so. That's why I wanted to see if we could let's get a guy on and talk to him on here. It's a great album. I love it. It's their first full-length album since, the year 2000. When All About Chemistry came out.
In the year 2000.
So between the concert and the new album, Semisonic has been a big part of the year. I got tickets. Pete, you're going. We're going to go see the Foo Fighters again this next year. The last concert, of course, got canceled, tragically.
Save that for the next episode. This is stuff to look forward to.
Well, right. But last year is when we got the tickets. And so that was the same four that we're going to go. We all have tickets again. Okay, I'll leave the rest. But what I was going to say is the Foo Fighters did put a new album last year, and the new album is fantastic, and I love it. Sometimes I forget it came out, and I need to go back and listen to it again. But it's great. So in 2023, got tickets and new album. Speaking of a band who's coming out with a new album this Friday, it'll be after this. It'll be out when this comes out. But Green Day has a new album coming out. And they've released a couple of songs along the way. And I got to say, they have a new song that just came out called Dilemma, which I think is maybe the best Green Day song I've heard since American Idiot. It is so awesome. And I love everything they put out. But this new song just hit me. I listened to it over and over and over again. So that was a big hit. And then finally, back to the pop music, because I do like pop music when it's done well. So, other than Taylor Swift, the next biggest act is Olivia Rodrigo, and I'm not going to the concert. I wanted to. My kids are going. My daughter wanted me to go, but the tickets were too expensive. We didn't even think we were going to get them for them. But I decided to decline, and they're going to go with a friend, and that's a big deal for them. But her album that came out last year, Guts, I probably listened to that more than any other album in the year, even more than the Foo Fighters. It's just so fucking good. I can't even get over how good it is. That girl is amazing. So I will put a plug in for Olivia Rodrigo.
Nice.
That's my music
just
list.
To let you know, I'm working on getting a podcast guest. I'm working on getting Taylor Swift on this podcast. So
might as well try. It doesn't hurt.
You may as well try.
That's my philosophy.
I think you'd have better luck going to Kelsey and his podcast, and then getting him to hook us up with her.
Thinking. Yeah. But speaking of great podcast guests, a highlight of my year, Gifford, and your year as well, would be that we had Teo Pingalis, who played Tony/Andre DeMira on Days of Our Lives, who, was, I said in the episode, was big in the 90s. We watched Days of Our Lives, and he was a very well-known character, so it was a very cool experience to be able to actually sit down and talk with him on this show. So that was...
Don't leave me out of that just because I wasn't on the episode.
Sorry.
Well,
you were dead.
Still a highlight for me to be part of the whole.
You were dead.
Sure, you were dead.
That's right. He killed.
It was a highlight. Brad.
That was our highlight right there.
Yeah, he was absolutely great. I mean, he was so. Again, I've said it before. I'll say it again. Very gracious with his time and his stories, and he was great. I mean, we just said a couple words, and he just took it.
Ran the show. It was the easiest.
Yeah, you guys did a great job. But you didn't have to do much. He just talked.
Just get out of his way, man. Ask a question and let him run. He was great. I really enjoyed that. That's. I love that you brought that up, Pete. Yeah.
Yes.
What else you got?
Are you out? Are we going to you? Or?
No, I can go. So I did forget. Since we're on the topic of music, I'm not a big concert goer. But this fall, Dwight Yoakam came 1,000 miles from nowhere to Bemidji to play a concert, and I absolutely loved it. I got tickets. He came to Bemidji, just our little arena here, and then a friend of ours, the night of the concert, the afternoon of the concert, said, "Hey, why don't you come sit in the suite with us?" So those tickets were even better. We were just on the side of the stage in a suite, and it was awesome. I loved seeing him. I think he's just the bee's knees. A lot of people are like, oh, he's too old. He's up there shaking it. He's singing. He's just the guy that you think he would be on stage.
And actually, speaking of that, I'll throw in one other concert because you reminded me. So speaking of older, I got to see Everclear, but it's the first time I've ever seen Everclear. I've missed them my whole life, even though they're one of my all-time favorite bands. So in October or so, I got to see them, and actually, I've also reached out to Art Alexakis to be on our show. And he doesn't sound as good because he's got MS and he's been through so much. But this guy is up there and he's rocking, and it was just such a cool. I'm so glad I got to see them before they ever hang it up or whatever they do. That was awesome. So I should throw that one in too.
Yeah. Well, and you posted some of that on our. Was it on your socials or our socials?
I don't remember. Probably both.
Yeah. That's definitely needs to be included.
So were those our turns? Are we back to Pete or are we back to you, Giv?
Back to me. So I'm going to get into television if you guys don't mind.
Okay, then I'll follow that up with my television.
So this year, again, with this podcast, I'm watching a lot of stuff that we're going to be covering. So as far as television that came out in 2023, when I went back and looked, there's a lot of stuff that's great that I just didn't watch. But I will get into my list here. Fargo, which is currently still going on, season 5.
Well, the last episode is right now while we're recording this, so tonight or tomorrow.
And I'll watch it tomorrow on Hulu. That is a return to form, in my opinion.
Is so good.
For this series. Jon Hamm, I want to kill him. His son, he plays the character on Stranger
Things.
He is so despicable and just a little twerp.
The thing that just irritates you is they're so real. Those guys are real guys out there, and it just that's what makes them so scary and horrible.
Yep.
It's not even a caricature.
But the characters are amazing. The story is amazing. Absolutely loving. So please go to Hulu or FX or whatever you got and watch this season of Fargo. It is amazing.
And they also go back and listen to our episode from Fargo, which was just like 2 months ago, and watch season 1 over again too.
Yep. Yeah, which I honestly, I'm wondering if this hasn't supplanted season 1.
It's close. Season 1, 2, and 5 are so far ahead of the other two, but those 3 seasons are just 2's probably a step behind overall.
2's a step behind,
but 1 and 5,
still really
but it's
good.
close. But 1 and 5 they're just as good as TV gets.
I got a few other final season shows here. Letterkenny came out late this past year, December 26th, came out with their final season. I love that show and sad to see that it's over.
It's all done, huh?
Yep. Barry, final season. Season 4 came out in 2023, and they wrapped it up. I mean, there's no
happy ending there.
Arguing that show's done, but definitely a good show. And another final season. Well, I'll save that one for a show that started in 2023. Loved it. Shrinking.
Yes.
Brad, I believe you watched that. Pete, I'm not sure if you did, but Harrison Ford
Jason
Ford
Segel.
and Jason Segel, so good. And of course, I was proud of myself because I called the last scene of the last episode of the first season. I knew that was going to happen. And then the juggernaut of Ted Lasso in 2023. Sad to see it go, but great season. That last third season was wonderful and enjoyed watching it with Courtney. And, I love the way they wrapped it up.
It was beautiful.
It was absolutely beautiful. So those are my shows of 2023 that I was watching.
All right. So when I did my TV list, I was thinking, I only had a couple. I'm like, that can't be right. And then I don't remember how I thought of all these, but I ended up with, I have a top 10 right here, and I left some off. I watched more than this year. So it was actually one of the best years of TV ever. So I'll just get out of the way. My 2, 3, and 4 are Shrinking, Ted Lasso, and Fargo. Fargo's amazing. Ted Lasso was great. And I think for this particular year, Shrinking was actually better than Ted Lasso. That first season was so good.
That first season
was so good.
Yeah.
I'm just talking compared to the season 3 of Ted Lasso. But they were both great. The show that, and then I had Barry, because I watched that from the beginning. The other show that ended a while ago, but it didn't come out on streaming until this year, and I didn't get to watch it till this year, was Better Call Saul.
Yep.
And so I had that on my list too. The show that just totally blew me away, that I didn't know really, when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, it's not going to be good. But there was a show on Hulu called A Small Light, and it is about Meep Geese, who helped hide Anne Frank. And I teach Anne Frank every year, and I'm just kind of obsessed with the whole
You teach her
thing. Yeah, I do. But this show is told from the perspective of her specifically, and the other people who helped hide them. And I can't recommend this higher than any show I've ever watched. It was amazing. And if you know any of the story of Anne Frank, it would obviously help.
Right.
But even if you don't, I mean, you got to know who she is. I mean, if you're an adult, I think you've heard of the Holocaust and know what was going on. That show was amazing. I can't get over how good it was. I got to watch it again. I'm going to be teaching that again in February, March. So when I do, I'll probably go back and rewatch that show over too, because I'll be in the mood for it.
So what was the name of it again? I'm going to put it on my...
A Small Light.
A Small Light. All right.
All right, and then I have 4 more here. So I watched The Bear, which has been a big, huge show this year that people have been in love with. I didn't love it as much as some other people, but it did get better and better, and enough that now that whenever a season 3 comes out, I'll definitely want to watch it. But The Bear was great. It just won a whole buttload of Emmys last night.
On the best comedy Emmy.
Jury Duty, we watched it on Amazon. I'd highly recommend that. That show was so funny. They took a random guy who had no, he thought he was on a real jury, and every single thing around him was fake. And it sounds like it would be terrible, or like they would really get to this, like it would end badly. But the way they wrapped it up, it was, and I don't know how they picked this guy. This guy was amazing. He was just perfect for the show, and the show was great and was hilarious. And the best part of it was James Marsden was like the one kind of big name on it. And it wasn't hiding. Like, he knew who James Marsden was, but his role in the show was just fantastic. I watched Platonic because I love Rose Byrne, but her and Seth Rogen. It was another Apple show that I saw when I was watching Shrinking, and Ted Lasso that I saw was being made. It wasn't the best show, but it was funny, and I love Rose Byrne. It was so good.
Mm-hmm.
And then my last one is Succession, which won all the other Emmys for drama last night. And I was a slog to get through Succession. I loved it at first. By the end, I'm like, okay, I just got to finish this. But I did not. That's why it's the last one on my list. It's a great show. It's brilliant. It's greatly made, but there's no likable characters. It gets to be a lot to watch. But it was still a great show. So it's on my list as well. So I watched all those this year and more.
Can I ask? Have you continued with Game of Thrones with Isaac?
Well, we're only through like 6 episodes. It's very hard to get us time to watch it.
No, but you're.
Yeah, and I've to the point where I might watch it anyway, even if he doesn't, because we don't watch it much. So I'm like, do you really still want to watch this? And he said the other day, yeah, he does. So I guess
all right,
we'll figure it out.
Well, you're six episodes in.
Yeah.
And that's a tough one too. I mean,
but they're so far apart. Like, I forget who's who and what's going on. It's hard to follow that way when you're spreading them out that much.
Yeah, it is, and it is a good show to binge. In that, well, just about any show is a good show to binge. But yeah, you'll be able to run right through it. But yeah, it is a lot. I mean, they're hour-long episodes, and it's a lot to get through.
All right, Pete.
There is actually one last one that I have as far as memories go. And Brad, you brought up a show last night that you didn't mention just now, but you brought it up over text. Loudermilk, starring Brian Regan.
Well, I'm watching that now. So
right, but the reason I'm bringing it up is because that's how we wrapped up our year. We saw Brian Regan, who is a stand-up comedian. Mm-hmm. We went to his show. He was performing at the State Theater in Minneapolis, and so what was cool about that is because this was a year that my son got really into stand-up comedy, and Brian Regan is. Yeah, he went with, and that was his Christmas gift, and so we all 4 of us went actually as a family, and so it was really cool for him. And the reason that he kind of fell in love, first of all, he's clean, so you can bring your kids and watch him on Netflix. He's got a number of Netflix specials. I recommend it, along with a few others. And this is one of his favorites. He fell in love with his act. He's got a really good bit about tennis, and Brecken plays tennis, and so he understood all the jokes and just was laughing hysterically. And he's like, I love this guy.
I should watch that with Isla then.
I'll send you the bit. I'll send you the bit.
Please do.
And it's pretty funny. And there's a couple of other ones actually this year that he got into that I would recommend. There's one called Ryan Hamilton. The special is called Happy Face, and a lot of the act is a lot like being from Tyler, because he's from a small town in Idaho of about 1,000 people, and about half of the show is you could relate directly being from Tyler, because it's the same. And then also Nate Bargatze, who you're probably all familiar with. He's been on Saturday Night Live, and he's also, all 3 of these actually are really clean. You can watch with your family. So.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, but the fact that we finished off the year while you guys were all watching the Vikings get destroyed by the Packers, I had the better evening that way. So that wraps up my year.
Pete, who is that second comic you mentioned?
Ryan Hamilton.
Ryan Hamilton. Okay.
And the special on Netflix, as far as I know, I've only ever seen one special that he has, and it's on Netflix, and it's called Happy Face.
Okay.
And it's because he's making fun of himself with it, because he looks like he's got a permanent smile just glued on. and he makes fun of his own appearance.
There you go, yeah.
So
Gifford, I'm guessing you're going to go to movies next.
Yeah, I think I will. So I'm just going to kind of, I got a bunch of movies written down, but I'm just going to go through the top 5 that I have. I don't go to movies in the movie theater, except this year I went twice. And the first one I saw in the theater, I went with Paul, and we saw the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yes.
And he is
Yep,
huge into Super Mario, plays a lot of the games, whether it be, old school NES, first edition of Super Mario Brothers, all the way through to, the latest edition of, Mario Kart. He loves Mario Bros. And of course, it was awesome for me too to go to that. And, that's one of the things we really connect on is Super Mario Brothers. The other one I went to was Oppenheimer. Courtney and I went to that, and that was excellent. I love, historical, movies like that. So that was good. I watched Air.
This is funny. So far, you have my top 5. You've named 3 of them already.
I've named 3 movies.
Yep.
So Air was really good. Loved the the whole backstory of Nike trying to get their market share in the basketball world with Michael Jordan was excellent. Brad, you brought up this movie not too long ago.
We're gonna be 4 for 4 now.
Champions.
Yeah.
I'm your homie with an extra chromie. Woody Harrelson and the cast was.
I just
excellent.
saw that that's on something for free now. Is it Amazon or it's on something? And I was like, no, I should watch that again if it's free now.
Well, I watched it for free.
Did you? Well, when we got it,
yeah.
we rented it when we watched.
I think it was Amazon. That sounds right. Courtney and I watched it. Yeah, that was just such a heartwarming movie. So much fun. The last one, just if you're in the mood for absolute stupidity and craziness, Cocaine Bear is a good way to go.
We differed on one.
That was just a wild ride, and get your popcorn out. Sit down. Don't take anything too seriously. It's absolutely nuts, but a fun watch. So I wouldn't have gone to see it in the theater. I wouldn't pay for it. It was on one of the services I got for free, so I figured why not. And it did not disappoint. It was just a good time.
All right, so I'll mostly list the others I had then here, but I did have Champions, Oppenheimer, Air, and Super Mario Brothers in my top 5. I really enjoyed the Super Mario Brothers movie. I thought it was going to be really stupid, and I really liked it.
Yeah.
Air was excellent. I went to that with my brother. Oppenheimer was awesome. Like, that was the fastest 3-hour movie. Like,
unbelievable.
The music, and it was just like edge of your seat from beginning to end. It was like, this is so easy and fun to watch. It was brilliantly made.
Well, and they detonate the bomb, and there's an hour left, and you're like, what the hell are they going to do here?
I don't remember that.
Yes, and it just flew. It was like, oh my God, it was so fast.
And then Champions, of course, I put that in number 1 because it was just such a surprise. I mean, I thought I heard it was gonna be good, but I sat down to watch it with my kid and my wife, and I'm like, oh boy, this is my choice. This might not go well, and we just loved it. We cried and laughed, and it was so good. And my wife was it worked out perfectly. And then my other top 5 movie, though, I don't know if you saw this, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. My God, I love those movies.
God, yes, that was a good movie.
There were massive movies from this year that I have not seen. That one
you're gonna want to watch someday. It's awesome.
And I love.
Would have been better in the theater, but it's still good either way.
We saw it in the theater.
I did too. The other movies I listed here. So I did mention the Taylor Swift movie. After going to the concert, it was really, it was like, I'm like, do you want to go see the concert movie? But we did, and it was totally worth it because you get to see so much more. And the close up, it was totally worth it. I just recently watched No Hard Feelings on Netflix with Jennifer Lawrence. That is a really funny movie.
Yeah, very funny.
I enjoyed it very much. And then I had 3 horror movies because my son and I go to a lot of those. Megan was pretty good. It was different and unique, and I liked it. Yep.
It's Chucky with
a cute doll,
but a girl.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what I had the combination before.
Barbie.
Yes, yeah. Well, sure, but yeah, it's crazy. But that's another one where just let it go and just enjoy your time.
Knock at the Cabin was okay. I mean, compared to some of the other recent what's his face movies. What's his name? M. Night Shyamalan. It was pretty good.
That was an M. Night Shyamalan movie. Okay.
But the one I probably thought was like the best. I'm still liking the Scream movies every year they come out. They get less funny, they get more serious. But Scream 6, it was really good. I love those movies. We have a good time going to those. They get more gory and less funny, but they're still good.
Right.
For a franchise that's gone on that long, I'm impressed how I still enjoy them.
And that's another one where it's a series, and I loved those movies when they came out when we were in college, but I just have not kept up because I think another Saw movie came out this year. Never bothered to see that, but I love.
And speaking of, I mentioned Barbie there. I thought it was a letdown. My wife and I both were like, "Yeah, it's too long."
I thought it was good.
Okay.
I enjoyed it.
I didn't hate it.
I think
I'll probably never watch it again. And usually, I want to watch a movie twice if I like it a lot like that. So
I think that movie was perfectly cast.
Well, cast
I
was
don't think
great.
you could have done any better casting that movie.
And there was a lot to like in it. Yeah. Some of the musical parts, I'm like, really? Yeah. We're going all the way with this?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We both get, you know how we like things to be short and when are they going to be over? Mm-hmm. And we got antsy at that one.
Yep.
All right. I'm all done. Pete, you got anything else?
Well, our listeners are probably getting antsy, so that's all. I don't have anything more. I just wanted to say, Gifford, what, in your opinion, what was the best band of 2023 to listen to?
The best band of 2023. And that's tough for me because I'm not a big band guy, but I think I'm gonna say Preacher Row.
You got it. That's right.
Thank you.
It was Preacher Row.
Sweet. Well, this was awesome. It's been too long.
This was fun.
It was great to be back with you guys, and hopefully our listeners enjoyed it as well.
And while we're on this break, enjoy the old ones. Hopefully, if you're listening, if you never heard them, and please, while we get ready for season 4. Oh my God!
Jesus, my God!
Tell somebody about our show. Give us a review on Apple. Bring somebody new in. We get new listeners every year, and we would love to have more. Yes. We have a lot to offer out there. We work hard for you, so.
Yes, we do.
We'd like this to be like a pyramid scheme, right? You tell 2 people, they tell 2 people, and then before you know it, we have like 1 million listeners. So that's what
right.
we want to.
And then we move into a pyramid.
And we're not close to 1 million yet, but you know what? We're
plugging along. We love it.
Yep. All right, so we'll see you next month. Thank you.
See you later.
Happy New Year.
Bye.
No one's here to comfort me. Sorry for what I have done. Sorry that your son is gone. 7 steps and it will be my last. And start to me on my path. I turn and I look to you. I'm scared but there's nothing I can do.